First, GF cheated on me after 2 years. This happened in 2021. I've been with her since 2019, but I thought I'd just write the story and post it here because why not? So I, M18 at the time, went to a rave in San Francisco. I've always been super socially awkward with girls, but if anyone knows raving culture, there's a lot of ecstasy and Molly being done LOL. Anyway, I ended up taking some ecstasy and going into the crowd with my friends when this girl, F19 at the time, came up to me and started talking to me. She basically initiated everything and asked me to dance with her, in which I said yes because she was beautiful. And if anyone knows ecstasy, it's really a love drug, so I basically fell in love on sight. She started dancing on me, and we started kissing and holding hands like 5 minutes after meeting. That's how we met. Anyway, fast forward a couple weeks, she lived an hour and a half away, which wasn't so bad, and I was always traveling to the Bay anyway, so it was working out. I was infatuated by her, like I didn't know it was even possible to feel so strongly about someone like that. Then she went to college, which wasn't about 3 hours in LA. Still not too bad, and I asked if I could visit her. First time I visited her in her dorm, we got into the cliché conversation about body counts. I shared mine, which wasn't maybe 3 at the time, and this is where the first red flag came that I completely ignored. When reciprocating the question, she said in these exact words, "If you knew how many bodies I had, you'd think I was a whore," and my naive ass at the time was so infatuated and in love with her I blew it off like she was joking. Anyway, fast forward about a year, we're exclusive, and to me she was still the most gorgeous, sweetest, soft person I had ever met. I did have a lot of anxiety because I did have a huge friend group, and I have seen so many genuine-seeming girls cheat on their SOs. So at times it would get the best of me and we'd have minor arguments because in my mind I had this thought that my relationship was just too good to be true. Maybe that was partially why she cheated to this day. I don't know. Anyway, now it's about early March, and I was living with her in her apartment, and for some reason around this time she was acting really irritable around me, starting arguments, being rude and mean. And we had this one argument which made me go down to my car just to let her cool down, because I don't know why she was acting that way towards me. While I was in my car, I ended up sending her a long text, trying to be as calming as I could, saying something along the lines of, "I love you so much and I'm not sure what I've done to deserve you treating me this way, but I love you and don't want to fight with you," etc. When I went back up to the apartment and into her room, she was sitting on the floor, bawling her eyes out, to which I immediately grabbed her and squeezed her tight, saying, "What's wrong, love? What's wrong?" And she just kept saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry," to which I just kept asking what's wrong. She then started saying, "I'm sorry. It wasn't physical, it wasn't physical, it was only messages." And that kind of stunned me in the moment. I had no emotions, sad or happy. My mind just went blank. She told me she had been messaging another guy for just a couple weeks, and that it wasn't physical. I didn't cry, I just listened. My mind couldn't really process in the moment what she was saying, but she said she was so sorry and she understands if I want to leave her. I was so emotionally weak at the time that I couldn't even leave her, because no one had ever loved me like she did. It took a few hours for my brain to really process it, to which then I started crying a little bit, asking questions about the guy, and she showed me that he was blocked. It was then that night that I really lost it. I couldn't stop crying all night. I packed my stuff, planning to leave and go back to my hometown to stay with my parents for a bit. In the morning, while she was showering, I texted her best friend that she's known since childhood. Turns out her best friend is actually a true, genuine person, and told her that if she didn't tell me herself, then her best friend would, and that's why she admitted it to me without me finding out. I asked her friend how long it's been going on, because my girl told me it wasn't only a week or 2. Her best friend said it began in the summer. As I said earlier, it was now March of the next year. I started crying again, and when she walked back in the room after showering, she asked me what's wrong, and I just looked at her in pain and said, "Your friend told me it was since summer." My mind was in such a state of sadness and rage that I forget even how the rest of that convo went, but I do remember her saying, "Why would she do that? She was my best friend," to which I scoffed sarcastically because she was mad at her friend for telling the truth. Her friend ended up cutting her off completely. Anyway, I said I needed a few days and took my shit back to my hometown and stayed with my parents a bit. I was still too weak to leave her, but my anxiety and insecurity about that happening again was so high we only lasted another 2 months. I was so destroyed that I ended up turning to cocaine to give me any little bit of dopamine I could get. I was full-blown addicted for 2 years. She ended up changing her whole name and moving out of the country, which made me wonder if that was because she couldn't take how much she hurt me. She would call me every now and then, crying and apologizing, telling me I had such a pure heart and was the sweetest, most romantic boyfriend she ever had. It made me cry because it just made me think, then why on earth would you betray me so much? I wouldn't be able to sleep for days on end because it went from daily texting someone I genuinely adored with my whole heart to nothing. The silence was loud, and hurting me so badly really messed with my decision-making skills, causing me to say fuck it and snort coke every day until my face was numb. I now quit. But I now have a hole in my septum and have such a great distrust for women that now 4 years later I'm still too scared to get into another relationship out of fear that I'll have to relive through something like that again. Really sucks. Hopefully one day I'll met a genuine girl who changes my perspective. That's all. I didn't add some details like when she tried to commit in front of me twice, once driving into oncoming traffic with me in the car, so I'll just let that out here. Thanks for listening if this reaches anyone at all. Just wanted to share.